So I'm outside in this really beautiful garden at the moment, and I'm trying to kind of work up the courage to start talking. I feel like I kind of get a bit more used to it as time goes on, but it's definitely not something that really comes naturally to me. But we're going for it. I'm going for it anyway. My name's Connor. I had this theory a little while ago that if I made a YouTube channel and I started posting videos about different parts of my life or different thoughts that I have, and start to kind of make this patchwork creation that's a representation of my authentic self. I feel if I can manage to do this, it will help me kind of understand myself better, and I'm on this kind of quest to figure out and express my most authentic version of myself. So that's where we're at. I want to make a bunch of videos where I can just talk quite fluidly and authentically about things that I care about or things that I'm thinking about. So this video today is going to be about building community or becoming part of a community based around your interests, and what can come of that if you're kind of willing to give it a shot and do something that kind of feels a bit scary. So I thought I'd talk about one of my experiences with a community that I kind of became a part of a few years ago, and all the great memories in my life that has kind of led to. It wouldn't have been possible without just taking one step right at the start to actually put myself out there and try and engage with one of these communities. So for me, this particular one that I'm talking about is built around trading card games. This game, Flesh and Blood in particular. It's maybe slightly lesser known in pop culture, but it's really getting quite big now. And a few years ago when I got into it, it was still kind of fairly new. I think there'd only been maybe 3 set releases just as I started playing. So maybe only about a year old, the game. So how it kind of started for me, I've always had an interest in trading card games since I was a kid. Played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! In the playground when I was in primary school. And there's just something about it that really, I don't know, has really dug in to me. I don't know if it's the maths or the fantasy and sci-fi kind of elements in the artwork, all the creative themes, I suppose. It's a mix of all of those things, I think, that I find really fascinating and engaging. So I'd never really engaged too much in trading card game communities as an adult. I'd always been a little bit intimidated by it for no reason other than my own anxieties around it. I'm a fairly, I don't know, I guess I kind of consider myself more of an introverted person, though maybe I'm kind of challenging that concept nowadays, so I'm not sure as much if I am, but I at least thought I was quite an introverted person. So my experience with card games as an adult was mostly just kind of kitchen table stuff. Had some friends who I knew were also into cards on a really casual level, and we'd play Magic the Gathering. We'd just hang out and play some Magic. Yeah, that's one level that's great to engage with those sorts of hobbies. But I'm more talking about going to local events at your local game stores and meeting people that way and starting to forge friendships through that. So I'll go through some of my experiences on that sort of journey. For me, it's I think I saw an ad on Facebook or something like that for a game store that was close to me. They were running a come and try event for this new game, Flesh and Blood, to try and start up a bit of a community for the game. And I don't know what it was in particular about the game that really motivated me to go to this, but I was really interested in it. Maybe it was like the artwork. So I went with one of my friends that I played a lot of Magic with, and we both played this game, and she wasn't really as into it as I was, but like right off the bat I was super gripped by this game. Like, it's the artwork, the gameplay itself, like everything was so unique compared to any other card game that I'd played. I was just really, really obsessed with it, to be honest, like right from the start. So at this event there was probably like 10 of us, I want to say, like mostly kind of new players, and then a few of the kind of guys that had been into it like right from the get-go when the game had released, that were kind of trying to engage with other people and teach them how to play and get them involved, because when it comes to trading card games in person, like the more people playing it in your particular area, the better, really, because then you've got more people to play against, and it makes it like it's kind of only something that works if there is a community built around it and a community maintained around it. So yeah, it was a really positive experience at this first event. I met a bunch of people and just like chatted casually, and we played the game. We kind of like fumbled through it a little bit, but like a lot of us really enjoyed the game and wanted to kind of keep going with it and keep it growing. So from there, in the like following months, there'd always be like a regular night to play this game at this particular card shop, and most of us would go every Wednesday or whenever it was, and we'd start to see the same people over and over, and start to kind of, those friendships would start to go from just general chit chat or mostly kind of game related chit chat to like more, like slightly more personal stuff, I guess. Like we all started to get to know what each other did for work, and those sorts of things. And just gradually over time, this community started to like form around this game, which was really quite, I think at the time I didn't really think too much into it, but like looking back now, and like in the last few years looking back on those events, like a lot of those things, if they didn't happen, then I would have missed out on a lot of the most like joyful memories that I have, really. All of those things were kind of really integral to like me meeting this person, and meeting another person, and then like having these awesome experiences together. So that's kind of how it started anyway. And then I can't remember the timeline super concisely, but around when we started getting into this game was around the start of COVID. So for a while, a lot of the game stores couldn't have, they couldn't have too many people in the stores, or there were times where they couldn't have anybody. But the community still thrived through that, and it actually started to expand outwards further to like not just South Australia where I was living, but quite a lot of Australia in general. During lockdowns, we started having these like webcam events. There was even one that I played in that was based in Canada, and I got up at like 2 a.m. to play this webcam event. Just like set up my webcam on my desk and like had my cards out. So I was playing with like physical cards, but and the person across the ocean was also playing with physical cards, and we were just filming ourselves and trying to play that way through mics. Which was a really cool experience too, and kind of speaks to how good this game was as well. Like it's brought so many people together, but also people are so interested in playing this game that they're willing to go to these kinds of lengths to put together community-driven events, and with like people across the world, which is pretty amazing, really. Like. It wasn't really something that I'd ever been part of before. I did also want to say before I move on, like it can be really scary, I think, to try and get involved with those communities and try and start up, especially if you're new and you know that other people playing are a lot more experienced than you, and you expect to just get dunked on for like, I don't know, weeks or months or whatever. It can put people off. But I do want to say, like, I played a bunch of different trading card games since then, and all of them have had the same experience for me, where like people are really inviting to new players that want to engage in the community, because like I said before, the more players, the better for everyone, really. It means that the game keeps thriving, and local stores are allowed to keep running events, like, because there's money behind it, I guess. Like, yeah, so if you are a bit worried about trying to reach out and start one of these card games, like, I'd definitely tell you, like, give it at least a try first before disregarding the idea, because I think you might be surprised by just how willing everybody is to help you out, help you get into it, and really like show you the ropes, and even like give you cards and things. Like, yeah, there's a huge part of it. So many people who play these games are so obsessed with it that like they end up with more cards than what they need, and they're happy to pass them on to new players, or, you know, help them get started. So like, if it's something you're interested in, I really strongly encourage you to give it a shot. So maybe I'll talk now about like some of the memories that have kind of come about through me joining this community. So maybe the first one that I can kind of remember, there was a few of us from Adelaide that played quite regularly and quite competitively, to the point where we managed to qualify through some like regional, like smaller qualifier events to play in the Australian Nationals, which was a really cool experience. I'm sort of like, I guess you could say I'm a competitive player, but I kind of consider myself more like, I play for fun and for making friends and just for like my love of the game. I think just my passion of the game and playing it so much has kind of meant that I have ended up in like sort of a competitive, or I got to a competitive level with this particular game, just purely out of my obsession for it. So yeah, I went to this Australian Nationals with a few other players from Adelaide, and it was a really great experience. I guess that was maybe the first time that we had hung out outside of just going to play cards. Like, for the weekend, we had to travel from our home state, South Australia, to, I want to say the first one was in either Melbourne or Sydney. So maybe Melbourne. So we'd all kind of traveled together, and we went out for dinner together, and we were kind of helping each other test out our decks on like the last night before the big event, in one of our hotel rooms somewhere. And that was just like a really cool experience in itself. Like, it wasn't, all of us were there to try and do as well as we could, but we were there because it was just something fun to do, and especially this was still kind of during like COVID times, but it must have been, I guess, when restrictions had settled down quite a lot. We all went. One of us made it all the way to the top 8 as well, so like went home with some money and some kind of cool prizes and things, and we all posted a photo afterwards, and of the, I want to say 4 of us, I hope I'm not like forgetting anyone, it was 4 or 5 of us. We all posted a photo together, and on our like community page for the South Australian group that played Flesh and Blood, and yeah, to try and hopefully kind of encourage other people to come and play the game, and get involved. There was another event. I think maybe this event came before Nationals, but there was an event in Melbourne that I really wanted to go to. But at the time, there was a lot of lockdowns happening, and borders could close kind of at a day's notice. And I decided that I wanted to go to this event anyway. Just thought it would be fun, and just like an excuse for an adventure. So at the time I had this like Commodore station wagon, and I just kind of set up a bed in the back of the station wagon, and I was like, I'm gonna drive from Adelaide to Melbourne. It's only like an 8-hour drive. I'm like, yeah, I'll drive, and then if we get word that the borders are gonna close, then I'll just drive back. I was like really determined to go and play in this event. So I did. I went and drove across, played in this event, and I did pretty poorly, but like had a great time. I met some people there. I wrote like a little article about it for my friend's website. This friend of mine, I'd first started talking to him on the very first day when I started playing this game. He'd helped me by giving me some cards to kind of get started, and sort of forged a friendship that way, and we'd end up kind of driving to events together back in Adelaide. He had even started his own, by this point he'd started his own website selling trading cards, kind of inspired by this like community of trading card game players, I guess, and the friendships that he'd made there and through the store owner there as well. Like, so yeah, he ended up kind of making his own full business out of it. I'll link it in the description as well. It's called Fabled Games. Yeah, so I wrote an article for him about my experience traveling over and having fun with it, and kind of created a bit of a narrative around it. And that was a really fun thing to do in itself too. Like, I ended up writing a few little articles for him, again, just because I was so obsessed with this game, and I thought maybe it would help kind of bring a little bit of attention to his like online store as well. So I did a lot of that. So yeah, there'd been quite a few of these events happening interstate, and as borders started to open more and more, and the pandemic sort of was left in the past, the community in Adelaide had grown to quite a massive amount, and there was multiple stores in Adelaide running events for this game, and there was way more. From the like 10 or so people that were playing initially, now there were probably closer to like 50 or 60 players, maybe more, some more casual, some more competitive, but everybody, I guess because Adelaide is quite a small city, basically everyone kind of knew each other, or at least most of us did. We all kind of like networked quite a lot. We'd go to the same stores, see each other often, so so many of these friendships were kind of made and forged. And then as the borders started to open more and more, and there were more events interstate that were kind of open invite events, so they didn't have to be for competitive players. We had one event over in Sydney that was like a premiere for a new set that was releasing, new set of cards, and there was like probably like 15 people from Adelaide that ended up traveling over. We all got dinner together, and it was just a great experience. I look back on photos of this particular trip because it was probably the biggest one I can remember, with like so many people coming and playing the game. It's I don't know, it really like warms my heart looking at it. Like these photos of just all of us, like we're all from very different professions, all different ages. Most of us probably never would have met or connected through any other circumstance other than this shared hobby and shared interest. And I guess that is kind of the crux of what I wanted to talk about. Like 20 minutes in, maybe I should have been a bit speedier with that, but like I just think that's a really amazing thing. And that, like, one catalyst, like one shared interest can mean that you meet so many other people, like tens, I don't know, maybe even hundreds of other people. Maybe hundreds is a lot, but like a lot of other people, right, that you never would have met otherwise, that you find that not just this one interest is what you have in common, but you actually have a lot of other things in common, like even if it might have nothing to do with your job or anything. Like, yeah, like it started to get to the point where, like, the groups of friends that I'd made through this card game, we started hanging out outside of the card game. Some of them kind of ended up leaving the card game either for like financial reasons, or like just I don't know, got bored of it and wanted to do something else. But some of them, the friendships still maintained, I guess. Like, some of my closest friends now I met through this card game, and we don't even play the game together anymore. I think it's just a super important thing, like finding your community or communities, I guess. Like, I've really come to believe that it's quite integral to the human experience and to understanding yourself better, and like, just, I don't know, like living a good life. Like, I think you really need that. I think all of us really need it. Some less than others, but I do think that there's just an inherent benefit that we get from it. I really believe that everyone that you meet knows something that you don't. No matter how clever you are or how clever they are, like, everybody's got their own unique individual experience, and it can be hard to put yourself out there and to engage with other, I guess, strangers. But the benefit from it is like so like intensely huge. It's so important, and I think a lot of people don't ever reach outside of their comfortable circles, and each to their own. Like, if you're happy, then it's fine. But I guess if you feel like maybe there's something missing in your life, or there's something that you want to explore more, I think it's so important to do that, because you never know what kind of experiences that could lead to. another example, I guess, like a different group of us had traveled for a different event. It was like another nationals, I think. This one was in Brisbane, I want to say. And all of us got like a share house together. On the nights outside of the event, we'd come back, we'd kind of play some practice games, or we were watching some of the footage that was live streamed from the event. I got to play on camera for this particular event, and I thought it was really hilarious, because I didn't expect to do too well in this event, and I had won my first 2 rounds, which are kind of the most important for these big competitive events. So for context, some of these events kind of have maybe 9 to 12 rounds, a lot of them, and then they cut to the top 8. So you want to win as many as possible. So I'd won my first 2 rounds, and that meant I was on one of the higher tables. So I got to play at the live stream table against a player who was, he was the runner-up the year before. He was a really good player. And I sat down to play with him. I'm going to circle back to the house because I really went on a tangent, but I sat down to play with him. We just had a joke, we had a chat. He was a really nice dude. We were chatting about where we were both from and like what decks we like to play, I guess. And then our friend Matt was commentating the event with our other friend Phil. So I was aware I was going to be playing this live streamed match against this really good player with 2 Adelaide locals commentating the event for nationals. So I was like, there's a bit of pressure on this kind of match, but I don't know, I wasn't really feeling too nervous about it. I was just like excited to be there, and I just thought it was a really fun thing. I thought that was kind of like just a memory that I would really hold on to for a while, and I have. So I proceeded to play this game, and I lost so sorely. Like you normally start these games with 40 life each, around about, and I lost the game without dealing a single point of damage to my opponent. He just so thoroughly defeated me, which I thought was hilarious because I couldn't stop thinking about my friends doing the commentary for this event, and how hard of a job I'd probably make it for them by not kind of putting up enough of a fight. I feel like I played actually really quite well in the event itself, but and in that game it just wasn't meant to be that day, and my opponent's just like such a excellent player that it just didn't really matter. But yeah, I thought it was quite funny that I managed to lose this game 40-0. And then later on at the house that we were staying at, me and a few of my friends who'd got back early decided to watch the live stream and listen to our friends' commentary, and we watched my game, watched me lose so like thoroughly, and that was just like a really funny experience to me as well. It was a cute thing to kind of share. And then when all of us had got back to the house, we played like a big sort of multi-person game, sort of a game mode where you can play 4 players. Normally it's like a 1v1 trading card game, but there's a mode where you can play 4 players, and we played with just everybody in the house. It was probably like 10 of us, I think. Just had this big chaotic game where everybody was kind of betraying everybody, and it was very fun. We were all like laughing, having a good time. Some of us were like lying on the ground and like kicking our feet up, like I feel like you know what I'm talking about, but that real kind of like that real like childhood. Oh my god, I just gave myself like such a big head spin doing that. It's like very warm out here at the moment. Yeah, but it was just a very good time, very like fun and wholesome, and just something I look back on very fondly. And I guess again it all kind of comes back to that idea that I wouldn't have experienced any of those memories if I had never gone into that game store on that first day and done something that was kind of scary to me at the time and put myself out there. So I think that is like, I can look back on it now and realize just how important that decision was, because I think I would be actually like a different person as well if I had never done any of that. I wouldn't have met so many cool people, and I wouldn't have learned from all of them and kind of learned about their lives. And I feel like it's natural when you meet other people that you really gel with, that you start to kind of take on some of their qualities, and maybe they start to take on some of yours, and you sort of define each other. And we almost kind of need each other. We kind of use each other as like a way to legitimize ourselves, and the way that we want to be. Yeah, I do just think I think back on these things so fondly, even just like the smallest little memories, even just a bunch of us getting together to open new cards like at one of our houses. Like there's like a new set release, and all of us were excited about the cards, and we all just decided to go hang out together and open boxes together, and kind of, I don't know, it's just exciting. You could see what other people had like pulled out of their boxes, and you could do the same. Just fun. Like, it's just so nice. I'll talk about one more story, which was my crowning. It was my peak in this game. And again, I guess it's I didn't want to be too much kind of talking about the competitive side of these games, but it's a really cool story that I hold really dear to me anyway. And I feel I'm just going to say it rather than continuing to just build it up. So in this game, from quite early on, I learnt that there's for these big national events and the Pro Tour, they have these gold bordered legendary cards that you get in a black envelope, and you don't know which one you're going to get, but it's one out of, at the time it was kind of a set of 20 that it could be. Some of them were worth anything from $1,000 to $5,000. They could be very expensive, and because that was the only way to get them, through winning one of these. You had to either make it to the top 8 in one of these national events, or you had to win a open invite event, which is extremely hard to do, because some of them there's Australia had some of the smaller ones, and those smaller ones were still 60 to 100 players. So very difficult to do. And I never, even though I played quite competitively, I never thought that I would ever be able to win one of these gold bordered cards. But I always kind of held it as I guess a goal in my head, that I thought one day it would be really cool, it'd be amazing if I got to win one of these cards. I can't remember. I feel I doubted whether... I don't think I ever thought I'd be able to win one. But, spoiler alert, I did eventually win one of these cards. This was another nationals event. Me and a group of friends had travelled to Melbourne for this one. And on day one of the event, I have a very bad track record at nationals. I seem to always do super bad, even if I'm doing really good at other big open invite events. I've done pretty well at a lot of those, but nationals, there's something about it I just always seem to do bad. And this one was no different. I started out, I played against a player that I'd met at another event. He was a Sydney local, and I lost to him in a very close game, and then I lost a couple more games after that, and I ended up finishing the day on pretty bad record, so I couldn't make it to day 2, and I was oh, that's okay, I've got a bunch of friends here in Melbourne, maybe I'll just go visit them, or one of my friends was going to see a musical, and I was oh, maybe I'll go see the musical. And then someone told me that there's a side event on the second day that is open invite, and the winner gets one of these gold foils and a Pro Tour invite. So I was all right, well, these side events, they called them battle hardened, and they are really top heavy events. So you basically have to win the whole thing to win a prize, I guess. The winner gets the gold foil, gets the Pro Tour invite. The second place gets the equivalent of $100 in prizing, essentially. So I was I'll just... The other thing too is these events, you basically have to win every single round. If you lose a round, then you're pretty much out, so you might as well just kind of drop, unless you're just playing for fun. So I was I'll play this event, and then as soon as I lose a round, then I'll just go and see my friends after that, or I'll potentially go see this musical if I have time. So I started playing the event. I brought the exact same deck of cards that I brought for the day before, which was was a bit of a bad meta call. The deck that I brought wasn't seen as being very good at the time, but it was one that I really liked a lot, and I was really comfortable on. So thought fuck it, like I'll just bring it, that's fine. And I don't know what it was in particular, but I think just fortune really smiled on me that day. I just kept winning all my rounds, even in matchups that I really had no business winning. I just was rolling hot like all day. So we started playing at 9, and then the cut to top 8 was, I don't know, maybe about like 5 o'clock, I think. And I'd won every round, and I made it into the top 8 at the first seed, which means that you get to choose first or second for each one of your games, which is a big advantage. And then I noticed in the top 8 that second seed was this player who was the runner-up at the first nationals that I played in. He's a really good player, and I know that I've seen him sort of play in some more like regional events and do really well and win money. So I was thinking to myself, no matter how far I get in this top 8, I'm probably going to have to play against this guy at some point. And he's playing a deck that's a really bad matchup for my deck. So I'm kind of like, this is way further than I expected to get anyway, and I'm happy with whatever point I get to here. I don't think I'm winning this event, but like, we'll see how far I can go. So I won my first top 8 match. I guess that was like a pretty close game, but I managed to win. And then my top 4 match, I was so close to losing. I really I had no business winning that particular game, but my opponent just got a little unlucky at the right moment. Like, both of us were playing very well, I will say. Like, it's not necessarily all luck or anything, but these trading card games do have like a level of variance to them. And I think on pure kind of power level, my opponent was probably higher than me, their deck, their strategy. And mine, in terms of skill, maybe we're both kind of equal. But I was, super close to losing this game, and then I just managed to turn it around like at the very last moment. Just picked up the cards that I needed to see, and my opponent did not pick up the cards that they needed to see, and I ended up winning. But I think we both kind of acknowledged at the end, like, just how kind of lucky the finish to that game was. I don't even really particularly remember it, but yeah, we both, shook hands. We talked about the game afterwards, both had a good time, like, had a smile on our face afterwards. And then it was up to the finals, and we'd made it all the way to like 8 or 9 o'clock by this point. So we'd been playing for nearly 12 hours, and my opponent was playing this sort of like fatigue strategy. So his games were taking longer in the top 8, which gave me a bit of time to kind of scope out what he was playing, like the particular cards. And then a few of my friends, I had a few friends around that were all people that I'd met at different events, all from different states, like one from Queensland, one from Sydney, and one from Melbourne, and then myself. The 3 of them had all played in this event, but had to drop earlier. Like, they'd lost a game, so they dropped, but they'd stuck around to see the final match. And they were talking to me while I was watching this other player. Maybe it sounds a little bit mean. I had kind of written off the player that this player was playing against. Maybe I held this player in too high regard, but in my head I was just like, this player is winning. I can see which one is going to win out of these 2 players, so I'm going to scope the one that I think is going to win. And so these friends of mine from all these different states that I'd met at all these different events, they were all kind of helping me strategize on how I could potentially win this game, because I think all of us knew, like, that none of us expected me to be in this final. So it was that was like a great, like, an incredible experience for me. Like, imagine how unlikely it is, like, I was saying just before about how unlikely it would have been that any of us in the community back in Adelaide would have met without this particular shared interest. But even less unlikely that I would have met these other guys that were from completely different states. And again, like, the shared interest had been what had brought us together. So we all kind of strategized together. A few of them had some sort of insights on what this player had been testing, because he was pretty much like a semi-pro, I guess, and had like a testing team that he'd practiced with. So we kind of compiled our info and came up with a game plan for how I could potentially win this game. And then it came down to playing the game. The opponent who I thought was going to win won, and I was paired up against him. It was like a little bit after 9 o'clock at the time, and we sat down to play. And I remember the like venue owners came in and tried to kind of move us off. They were like, "You guys need to like get out of here. This is too late. We need to like clean the place up so that it's ready for whatever they were doing the next day." I think nobody expected to be there that late. So they were trying to move us on, and the event organizers were trying to tell them like, "Oh, we've just got one more game to play. Like, we've just got to finish this up." We started tossing up whether we might have to play the game in one of our hotel rooms, which is very bizarre. And then the thought occurred to me, I was chatting with my opponent, and we were both kind of chatting about the game and about other competitive events that we played in. And I asked him, I was like, what are you kind of playing for? Are you playing for the Pro Tour invite, or are you more playing for the money? And he told me straight out that he was playing for the Pro Tour invite. He was really interested in playing like at the highest level. And I think both of us just kind of shared this look that we both had kind of come to this same conclusion, that maybe we'd both played enough games and the event was very top heavy anyway. Maybe we just split the prizing and I take the card and he takes the Pro Tour invite. And so that's what we did. In the end, we didn't play the game, which I'm like almost certain I definitely would have lost, but we didn't play the game. And I came away with this gold foil that meant a lot to me. And he came away with the Pro Tour invite and managed to go and play on the Pro Tour like he wanted. I think he'd already won a couple of these gold foils anyway, so maybe he wasn't really too fussed about it. But to me, I was like, this is like the highest level. I never thought I'd be able to achieve this, and the fact that I could is, I don't know, it's like, it's crazy being able to change your own like perception of yourself and what you can accomplish. It doesn't really happen very often, so I was very stoked. Yeah, so the event finished. I went and met up with a friend of mine. We had like a gyros, and then we met up with some more friends, a lot of people that we'd met in Melbourne that weekend, and we all got together and we opened the envelope together and just kind of had a celebration. We were at this like rooftop bar. It was really nice, and everyone was just chatting and having a good time. And that's kind of like, I feel like that's become like a bit of a core memory for me. That along with like all the other things that it kind of represents. Like, again, just like none of these experiences I would have had at all if I didn't make that one decision to go into the card shop on that day and start playing this new game. To give it a go and put myself out there a bit. Like, I think it can be really hard, especially for a lot of like neurodivergent folk, to put yourself out there like that and try and make new friends when you don't know anybody initially. But like, I think just imagining the potential futures that it could lead, like, you can't even really imagine it. Like, you could get something out of it, or it could lead to something that you couldn't even imagine. And I'm like incredibly grateful that I did do that, and I'm grateful to all the friends that I met through playing this game, right now I'm not really playing it as much anymore, but I'm still in contact with quite a lot of them, and we have like a group chat. We'll discuss new cards that are coming out. Like, it's just great. It's really nice having that, like, just that community. It's so important. Like, nothing beats it. And the cool thing too is you can have multiple communities for different interests too. You can fill your life with that, like, and that's quite amazing. It's probably something that's, I think a lot more people are finding the value in communities now. The focus is a lot more on that. I see, like, because I think for a long time we had become quite like individualistic, or maybe just the focus is a lot to do with romantic connections and relationships, like, but there are so many things that other connections, and that even just your individuality, like, you can't get as much out of it without a community to kind of share it with. So that's my longer than expected rant on finding community for me, which took the place in which for me took place in trading cards, but for other people it could be anything. It could be a reading group, could be, I don't know, like a sewing club, could be volunteering for something that you're passionate about. I think it's a really great thing to do, and I'd really encourage it. Yeah, if you watched this long, thanks. I can't believe that I've been yapping for this long, so I'm gonna stop talking now and go and lay in the sun for a little bit. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.